Hello everyone, my name is Deshen. I am a software engineer at Dataherald, and today we will be going through a step-by-step tutorial on how to set up Dataherald AI. Dataherald AI is our newest open source project. It is a natural language to SQL engine which allow you to query your structured database using plain English text. And today we will be going through this tutorial by going through the initial setup, how to run it on Docker, adding context from your database, and finally query some SQL questions using English plain text. So hopefully by the end of this tutorial, you will be able to query your database using English language instead of SQL queries. Let's get started. So to get started, let us first go to our public repository on GitHub and copy the URL for the repository. We will now go to our desktop or whatever directory you prefer and clone the repository. In this case, I believe we already have the repository on our desktop, so let me actually remove it. Okay, let us reclone it. Okay, now that our project has been cloned, let us now copy the examples environment variable to the same directory in Dataherald. So to do that, go to the Dataherald directory and copy the example environment variable into a new file called .env. After that's done, let us open up a new Visual Studio window, and let us open the Dataherald repo. Cool. Now that it is opened, we can go to the .env file. As you can see there, environment variables have been already filled out by the example, but some of them are still needed. If you just want to set up Dataherald as a minimum with least environment variables as possible, all you need to fill out is the top 4 environment variables, which includes your OpenAI API key, your organization ID, the model, and the encryption key. You can get your OpenAI API key and your organization ID through OpenAI. Right now, I am going to demonstrate how to create the encryption key, which can be done running Python 3. To do this, we will be importing the cryptography class, and we will use that to generate a random key. And let us fill that in. And when we come back, I will fill out the rest of the envars. Cool, so I have just finished filling out all my environment variables, which are the 4 that we just mentioned. And now I will be starting the Dataherald AI on Docker. To do this, let's start by creating the network for the Dataherald AI. We will run the command Docker network. And as you can see, I ran into an error because I have previously already created the network. So there should be no problem on your side. And the next step is to build the images and create the containers. Let's do that using Docker Compose. This will create the 2 containers. One of them is the Dataherald engine. The other one is the Mongo database. So as you can see, we have started both containers, but we can confirm that both of them are running fine by looking at all the current Docker containers running. As you can see, these are the 2 listed. Cool, so now that we have the Dataherald AI running locally, we can go to localhost 80 docs. We will go to the Swagger UI and we can see all the available endpoints shown on this browser. We will be using some of them in order to get our database connection creation as well as answering some questions. It is just easier to use this UI. So we will then create the database connection by using this UI. And to do this, we will fill out all of the credentials here and the fields here required. I will be creating my own database connections using this UI. And when we come back, I will have them all filled and created. Cool. So I have just filled out all of the database credentials for my database connection and added it using the post URL post endpoint. And I have also copied the ID of the database connection once it returns a response to me. You can also find the ID by going into your MongoDB database as well locally. The next step is that we will be creating the database connection, or sorry, we will be scanning the database by going to the endpoint for table description, sync schemas. And here we can fill out the database connection ID using the ID that I just mentioned. And here for table names, you can either include a table name for yours, or you can remove this field entirely so that it will scan the entire database for you. That will probably take a little bit longer, depending about how big your database is. It can range from a couple minutes to half an hour, depending how big the size is. So I do recommend, if you're doing this at home, to first maybe include the table names here, maybe just one or two tables. But in my case, I'll be generating all the tables for some of the questions I'll be asking. So let's execute this. Oh, we got processable entity. That's because I included the comma. So we run this. This will take a second, but since the operation is a async operation, once this finishes its execution, it means that it will start a script and it will run in the background on Docker. So return true here. And when we come back, we will have all the tables scanned. So welcome back. We have just scanned all of our tables in the database, which was approximately 24 tables that we had there. It took about 10, 15, 20 minutes total. And yeah, I think we are ready to answer some questions here. So let us paste the DB connection ID and a question. We'll ask, what is the average? You can see below I've asked a question previously, but what is the average rent price in Boston in February 2022? So let's go back to the code editor, and you can see here that the LLM agent is actually going through the database and it's checking out tables. It's going through a series of thought and observations, and it's trying to find the tables that mostly align with the question at hand, the information at hand. So here, location Boston, it would try to find the closest name that relates to the city. So you can see East Boston, Bolton, South Boston, and actual Boston. And I think our question has been answered here. So let's see, what is the average rent price? It is approximately $3,400. Wow, that is actually pretty high. But yeah, the LM can't be 100% correct all the time, so you do have to take a grain of salt at the results. But if you add more golden records to the database, which is another way to add context for your structured database, it will allow the large language model agent to answer questions a more accurate way that's catered to your database specifically. But we won't be extending our tutorial to that. If you would like to learn more about it, feel free to read the README section in our public GitHub repo. But yeah, that is about it. I would like to thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time.